Okay people, so today you're getting a 2-for-1 video. The goal is to replace this cam plug here on this 2006 Honda Civic. It's an R18 motor 1.8 Honda Civic Coupe EX 2006 is what we're working on. But this would apply to a lot of different motors, it seems. I asked the guy at the Honda dealer if this plug was the same as the B18, the H series motor, the F series motor. He said they're all the same as far as the plug goes. So this could be applicable to a bunch of different Civics and or Hondas. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to show you how to work on this particular one. Now, on the surface, it would seem that this is pretty easy to get to because it has this lip on it. Oh, sorry about the finger. And it looks like you can just pull it out by using a screwdriver. I tried that, and that did not work. I'll show you why. So the reason why just prying it out would be unsuccessful is because of these 4 tabs that you see here. Once you push that into the timing cover, it's going to click into place and not allow you to pull it back out. Therefore, what you're going to have to do is pull the valve cover off and push it out from the inside while pushing these tabs in. So that's where I say you're going to get the 2-for-1 special, because I'm going to go ahead and do the valve cover gasket on this thing while fixing that problem. I don't think the valve cover is leaking. I originally thought that's what was going on with it, with all the oil on the backside of the motor, but I came to the conclusion it was just coming from here because I cleaned off the engine really good. I used some Simple Green, got everything cleaned down really good, and determined it was just coming from here after driving it a few times. So I'm going to go ahead and just change the valve cover gasket while I'm at it though. So what you want to do is first remove this cover here. I think these probably just turn and then pop out. So remove that cover, remove this inlet hose here by pressing these 2 tabs and sliding it over, getting that out of the way. Then you're going to want to remove your coil packs. That's pretty straightforward. Just take off your little electrical connectors by pushing down on that tab on the top and pulling up on it. Those will pop out pretty easy. And then remove the 1 nut and slide them out. Do that for each one of these. And then from there you'll start pulling your bolts that hold your valve cover on. You're going to have these ones across the front here, and then there'll be a series of ones across the back. And it looks also like these 2 bolts right here on top, as you can see. So I'm going to grab a wrench and start going at this thing. Okay, you've got your fuel injectors pulled out. Once removing that cover, you just rotate it 90 degrees, and pull up on it. This is the cover I'm referring to right here. That just kind of pulls up and out of the way. Then you're going to find this cover, which is kind of hanging back here. You want to remove the 2 bolts that are holding this little assembly back there. You see all this grouping of wires? And then this, it's going to have 1 wire loom running through here. You're just going to pick that wire up and move it out of the way. And then you've got these 3 tabs on the back that hold it in position. So you kind of just want to grab at each spot and pull up on it with a little bit of force, but not enough to break it. You want to be kind of gentle with this. You don't want to mess that up. And just set that aside. And then from here, again, you're going to just start hitting your bolts for your valve cover. I think there's 4 on the front and 4 on the back. The ones in the back are going to be a little bit tricky to get to because you've got to watch your wires for your fuel injector plugs back here. I'm trying to see if I can get sight. See, there's one right here. There's going to be another one over on this side. One right down there. And then 1 in the corner. So again, yeah, 4 bolts, 4 in the front, 4 on the back. Pull those 4 bolts and then pull your dipstick out. I would wait till last to do that. That way you don't get any contaminants down in your motor as little as possible. And then from there, it's just a matter of getting the valve cover out of the way so you can access that cam seal. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this cover and show you how to tackle this cam seal. Okay, so you've got your valve cover off here, and you can see the gasket is just a simple O-ring gasket. Very easy to replace. You just pull the old one out, pop the new one in, set the valve cover back in place, replace your bolts, and torque them to the proper torque value, which is probably something along the lines of 9 foot-pounds. But don't quote me on that. Make sure you look it up before you do it. You don't want to over-tighten these bolts. You could crack this valve cover here. It's only plastic. You definitely don't want to do that. You could strip out a nut, and you definitely don't want to do that either, or you'll for sure have a valve cover leak. Oh, if this gives you a little bit of trouble coming off, what I did was just kind of put a screwdriver like here and just kind of pushed up on the screwdriver a little bit. You don't want to really stick it in there and pry it around too much because you don't want to risk damaging the mating surface of the valve cover. But as you can see, the valve cover gasket does not really come around this area here. So if you just do it ever so gently, it'll come out. So this brings me to the subject of this entire business here, and that is that frickin' plug there. And it's probably going to be a little bit hard to see, but if you look down in there, oh man, you can't really see it very well on the camera just because of the way it's zooming and everything. But if you look down in there, oh, you can kind of see it right there. You can see the plastic tab that I was telling you about. So what you want to do is take a screwdriver, stick that down in there and push that plastic tab in, and then try to push out or pull out on this side to get that tab out, or that plug out. Now there's 4 of those tabs, so it's going to be a little tricky and you're going to have to be a little patient, but that's what you're going to have to do to get that thing out of there. Okay, so I was successful in removing this plug in the manner I described. Basically what I did was I stuck a screwdriver in here and kind of held a flashlight down here to watch what I was doing. A flat bladed screwdriver, and kind of pushed against the tab and pushed out at the same time. And I actually ended up breaking one of the tabs on the other side trying to do the same thing. So I guess after I broke this tab, it didn't fall down in there, by the way. It just kind of snapped. It broke off the rest of the way after I took it out. Thankfully, I did not want that down in my timing cover. So just be very careful of that. So don't really try to push on it this way too much, but just kind of more give it an outward push this way. And after about 2 or 3 minutes of fumbling around with it, it came right out. So the next thing I'm going to do is get the new plug in. I do have my new plug, but I'm going to take a little bit of this business and put it around the edge of the, right here where the O-ring is. I'm just going to put a little bit of that around the O-ring and snap that bad boy in there. We should be good to go. Then I'll replace my valve cover, a gasket like I have here, and bolt everything back up. Again, make sure that you look up your torque specs. Make sure you've got all your torque specs proper, and do that so you don't over tighten anything. You don't want to crack your valve cover. That's terrible. But I'll go ahead and show you real quick how to put the new valve cover gasket in there. Also, when you're putting the new the valve cover back in place, I should say, make sure that you don't catch that O-ring on any of this stuff and fold it over up inside the valve cover. And what I mean by that is, here, let me take the old one and kind of show you. What can happen is when you're going to put that stuff back in there, actually this one looks like it's not going to be that bad, but sometimes these O-rings, sorry about that, will have a tendency to kind of roll like this, and then may come out a little bit and then kind of go like that in one spot, and then it will allow the oil to just come right out. I had that happen on my S10, my little 4-cylinder S10. I changed the valve cover gasket in that, and I had to shove the valve cover up underneath some stuff in the engine compartment, and it rolled over a little bit, that O-ring did, and man, it leaked oil like crazy. So just be very cognizant as to whether that O-ring is stayed in position where you're putting it back in place. And after you kind of put it in place, you can kind of go around and feel, and I would particularly pay attention to the backside. Just kind of put your finger around it and make sure it hasn't come out of that channel before you go ahead and start tightening it back down. So that's about it. I hope these tips help you out. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for lots of other videos on how to do things. And thank you very much for watching.